what she needs to recognise is that real harm is being done. And I think just as she is saying that she doesn't want black people discriminated against, I think she shouldn't discriminate against Jews and white people. And you know, there's almost an argument, Dan, for saying at least a genuine racist is genuine. She's just somebody who is
Yeah.
saying all this to make a couple of quid, which I think is arguably worse, because being stupid and deluded is dangerous. Being somebody who's willing to abuse people in the knowledge you're abusing them for money is worse.
Kicking off the top 10 of the 50 worst people in the UK today, and down 7 positions from her top 3 spot last year, it's Dr. Shola, the UK's race baiter-in-chief. No matter the subject, the doctor continues her mission of leading the now acceptable scourge of anti-white racism in the UK. And 2 brilliant people today, Lois Perry of the Heartland Institute and Andre Walker, now a fellow YouTube independent media sensation. Who wants to kick off? Dr. Shola. Lois, are you a fan?
No, I'm not a fan, and I just want to start the broadcast by saying this contains coffee and not
good.
gin.
Okay. I'm not sure I believe you, Lois, but okay.
Vodka.
Yeah, well, that's fine. He can. He's got hollow legs. I haven't. How are you, Dan? Are you okay?
Super good, actually.
Excellent. Right. So I wanted to do some research into this Dr. Shola character, and turns out that she said that the Auschwitz Memorial was an embarrassment to humanity. Now, I don't wish to be pedantic about it, but if you're saying that an Auschwitz Memorial was an embarrassment to humanity, I would say that you're actually the embarrassment to humanity. I mean, what the hell does she think that she's playing at, saying that about the Auschwitz Memorial? It's absolutely disgusting. She seems to hate white people. Yeah, she's an actual disgrace, isn't she?
She
I
is.
hadn't even heard of her before.
Well, Andre,
to be honest.
she's one of these people who's sort of made a mainstream media career out of this grift of being a proponent of anti-white racism. It's bizarre.
Well, I've got to be honest with you, Dan. I mean, I'm with Lois here. I think it's right that she's sunk to number 10 from number 3, simply because in this list, what you've got to do is balance out 2 things. Number 1, how nasty and racist somebody is. And look, she's a clear winner in that respect. But I think also what you've got to do is you've got to ask yourself, well, okay, how significant is she? And I think that while she wins massively on the massive racist thing, I think she loses badly on the significance thing.
Yes.
And I think that people don't take as much notice of her as perhaps she wants. And one of the things that I also think is right about why she's gone down from number 3 to number 10 is simply because I think people are getting sick of it. And I think what she is, and grifter is the right word, she's somebody who seeks to build a career off the controversy of being nasty. Now, the only thing that I would say to her, if I saw her face to face, is, you know, when you're talking about white people being evil, when you're talking about Israel being a poo stain on society, when you're talking about the Auschwitz Memorial being terrible, always remember there are real people who suffer as a result of that. Now, I appreciate that you're doing it just because you're somebody who just wants to get on telly, and the more extreme you are, the easier it is to get on TV. I accept all that. But I do think that what she needs to recognise is that real harm is being done. And I think just as she is saying that she doesn't want black people discriminated against, I think she shouldn't discriminate against Jews and white people. And you know, there's almost an argument, Dan, for saying at least a genuine racist is genuine. She's just somebody who is saying all this to make a couple of quid, which I think is arguably worse, because being stupid and deluded is dangerous. Being somebody who's willing to abuse people in the knowledge you're abusing them for money is worse.
Totally, it's a great.
Can I just say, sorry, very quickly, can I just add to that? You know, we talk a lot about people being sick of it, but do you know who the people that are most sick of being told that they're racist and they're terrible, and that, you know, white people are have had supremacy, and now they must apologize for it? It's kids. My 14-year-old daughter has you know, they're just sick of it. The whole thing. It causes problems at school with the interaction with the other students, because you've got all kids actually naturally just want to get on, but if you have woke ideology pushed down your throats by people like her, which infiltrates into the schooling system, she's got a PhD, I understand, but that's what gives me hope, Dan. Number one, she's gone down on the list, as Andre said. But number two, the kids are all right. They don't like this stuff anymore.
No, exactly. There is a reaction. She was pretty big, the last couple of years, and there is a reaction. But someone who is up big time on the list is number 9. Up 17 places from 26 last year. It's Labour's Foreign Secretary who compared Brexiteers to Nazis, Mr. David Lammy. And proving he is a man of no morals whatsoever, Lammy now sits alongside Donald Trump in the Oval Office, a man he once despicably described as a deluded, dishonest, xenophobic narcissist and a neo-Nazi sympathising sociopath. So he is a true embarrassment for Britain on the world stage, so far out of his depth it's not even funny, Lois Perry.
Yeah, was it David Lammy or was it someone else that said that a white van man should be able to get around London using public transport? I'm pretty sure it was him. And then LBC actually, to be fair, because normally they're super woke, aren't they? Actually tried it. They actually got somebody with their tools and with their paint and equipment to try and use the underground to get to work. And they wouldn't let the guy on because he obviously had chemicals and tools with him. So he's got a history of being a complete plank, to quote somebody else. But the other thing as well, I don't agree with, there's been some stuff in social media and stuff about, David Lammy should be deported. I mean, that's just crazy stuff. But he does say, he doesn't say I'm English, does he? He doesn't actually say that when he speaks about his background.
No, he doesn't. He speaks, I think he describes himself as Caribbean. Andre Walker.
Wasn't he born in Southampton?
Yes, he was.
Here's the danger. Here's the danger of David Lammy. First of all, I mean, he's an incompetent moron. And by the way, racism has been David Lammy's biggest friend. Because you've got to remember, when people say, oh my God, he can't be that thick, he went to Harvard. Well, always remember, he went to Harvard at a time when they were willing to put thick people in as long as they were black. Right? And that has been something that has massively racially discriminated against Chinese students in the maths department, as an example. So the reason that he went to Harvard is because of racism, not so much against white people, but principally against Chinese people who were massively rising in number, because as you know, their mental arithmetic is phenomenal. But anyway, so he's dined out on racism. But here's the other point about David Lammy, where he's so dangerous. Because, Dan, I don't mean to be rude, but many of the
you're
viewers
never rude, Andre, are you? Never knowingly or willingly rude.
Dad, you've got to ask Andre to tell his David Lammy mastermind story. He had me crying with laughter.
Go on.
So
you've got to now, Andre.
First of all, let me tell you, there are only 2 quasis in the world, Kwarteng and Modo. Right. So if somebody says to you, which quasi was the British Chancellor who resigned after a few days, you've got Modo or Kwarteng. Right. So anyway, with that in mind, Lammy, who got, I think, every single question wrong on his general knowledge segment, was asked first of all this question: which Mary invented X-rays? Now, at this stage, I wouldn't know the answer. But given that Marie Curie has got a cancer centre named after her, and the other Marie is Marie Antoinette, right? this is very much guess time, isn't it, Dad? Right? He guessed Marie Antoinette. But also, when he was asked who is the son of Henry VIII?
Now, this is brilliant.
The answer to that is actually King Edward. However, if you were to answer Henry IX, then I think you would have some credibility, wouldn't you? Don't know the answer, but I personally would. I would have known it was King Edward, but I'd have guessed Henry IX if I didn't know. He guessed Henry VII. Not only questions his historical ability, but also his ability to count, which, by the way, is probably the reason why he's willing to give away the Chagos Islands and rent it back for $17 billion. You'd have to be bad enough at mathematics for that. But I want to say one thing where he is insidious, Dan, because we can have a laugh about all of this all day. But, working class people in the inner cities of Britain are really struggling. There's
Yes.
real poverty
Yes.
with uncontrolled immigration, poor schooling, high taxes, low standards in public services. Now, whatever way you look at it, many of those children, not all of them, most of them are white, but many of those children are the children or grandchildren of Caribbean immigrants.
Yeah.
To suggest that those people, in addition to every burden they've got already, should also have to pay reparations to Jamaica for slavery is absolutely disgusting. You know, the reality is, increasingly, the education system in the Caribbean is better than in the inner cities. The level of discrimination against working class people is certainly significantly better in the Caribbean than it is in inner city London, inner city Birmingham. And what David Lammy is saying is this: I am an elitist, but in order to disguise my own elitism of getting into Harvard, even though I'm a moron, in order to disguise that, I'm going to send a bill to black working class children in the inner cities to feather the nests of the pro-Chinese communists who now infest the Caribbean governments.
Totally.
Yeah. He's also
Absolute
causing
disgrace.
division.
Disgrace. Exactly. And causing division. But first, people like Andrew Huberman, Jack Patrick, and even Joe Rogan have talked about a compound called epicatechin found in dark chocolate and green tea. It's shown to improve blood flow, delivering more oxygen to muscles and the brain. Now, studies show that it reduces stress and fatigue while improving mood and enhancing muscle growth, strength, and recovery. One study found it boosted muscle growth factors by nearly 50% in just a week. But don't reach for the chocolate bars, okay? Because processing destroys these compounds and you'd need an impossible amount to get results. That's why Verso, my favourites, have created Morning Being, a rich, chocolatey morning brew packed with epicatechin, cocoa, polyphenols, antioxidants, and electrolytes to fuel energy, performance, focus, and longevity. Unlike coffee or other coffee alternatives, it supports muscle recovery, cardiovascular health, and cognitive function, all without caffeine crashes. Cocoa powders, drinks, and products are commonly contaminated with high levels of toxic heavy metals, but Verso conducts third-party testing on every batch to ensure they have pure, high-quality cocoa, prioritizing safety and high flavanol, which is antioxidant and nutrient content. Now, I started taking Morning Bean to replace my I'm so embarrassed to say this, morning Diet Coke. But I know for some of you, it will be like coffee. And actually, I feel more focused and energized. I also like how I get my daily dose of superfoods from it. So if you're looking to improve your health with something that's actually backed by research, click on the link below or head on over to buy.ver.so and use the code Outspoken to get 15% off your first order. So that's buy.ver.so and use the code Outspoken for 15% off. But now, back to the show. Speaking of causing division, a new entry at number 8. He may not be a household name, but when you learn about this man, you'll understand why. He is the hate-filled hypocrite Nick Lowles, who, as the boss of the deranged charity Hope Not Hate, specialises in witch hunts of those on the right of British politics, desperately attempting to save our failing country. He encourages lawfare and prosecutions too for what he decides to be fake news. But then this year, when he spread false reports of acid attacks on Muslims in the wake of the Southport massacre, the police completely ignored his actions, which had quite clearly resulted in further violence. So this guy is appalling. He is a malign force, I think. Andre, what do you reckon?
No. Right, you've got this all wrong. You should be venerating this man. Can I tell you something about this bloke? I have written to him for the past 5 years asking to be on the far-right extremists in the media.
I'm on it! I'm on it, for God's sake! You can
which
take
you
my
have made it
place
onto.
quite happily.
which you have made it onto, and they
Not on
consistently
it either.
they consistently refuse to brand me a right-wing hate figure, right? Look, the reality is, I think that you can be defined by who your enemies are. And the reality is, the reason I'm devastated that I'm not in that report, which features you very heavily, Dan, is this. I want to be disliked by these people. I want these people to feel like I'm their enemy. I want to boil the blood of these people. But what I also want to do, and the reason I want to be in the Hope Not Hate discrimination report, is I want to be in it and then be completely fine. Because what this man seeks to do, and what his organisation seeks to do, he doesn't care about Andre Walker, Lois Perry, or Dan Wootton. What he wants to do, he wants to bully your ordinary plumber. He wants to bully your ordinary shop worker. He wants to bully your ordinary NHS nurse. And he thinks that by bullying us, it will send the message out to other people who have ordinary jobs that they can't speak the truth. What we need to do is to say, stick me in your report, and you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to paper the walls of my bathroom with it, shove it. And that, I think, is an important message. However, I will say, Dan, I'm devastated because I've made that point in a letter to Hope Not Hate for the past 5 years.
Look at this. Look at this, Lois. They call it the populist radical right. This was the section. So you've got Father Calvin, you've got Lawrence Fox, you've got Simon Webb, you've got Nick Tinconi.
Oh, I don't believe it. Nick's in it, but not me.
Lotus Meters, Turning Point. Oh,
yeah,
there I am.
Yes.
I've got it. Look at that. It's a big
Do you know what? That guy that we just saw on the screen, he looks like he's got an Essex mum to me.
So all I can say, Dan, is I've got very mixed emotions because what he wants to do is bully ordinary people. I've asked him to bully me, and he consistently refuses.
Right, Andre, I'm going to speak now. Is that okay?
Yes, come on, Lois Perry. Come on.
Thank you. Right, well, I just wanted to say about Nick, we can see very, very, very clearly that he never really got any girls at school, didn't he? I mean, look at the absolute state of him. He's just like the super nerd. He's not even like a sexy super nerd that you might get on Ghostbusters. Even the little guy in Ghostbusters, the nerdy guy, was he the gatekeeper or the keymaster or whatever? Even he was sexier than him. But I mean, this guy, does he not realize that with people like with you guys, as Andre just said, that these lists that he does just actually enhances us. It's like every time D-Smog write an article about me being the most terrible woman.
They don't like you. They don't like me either. but Lois, look at how they've framed Matt Goodwin. The opportunist extremist, the strange radicalization of Matthew Goodwin. God, they're insane.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Can I ask you a question? Is there a ranking of Nick Oles's? So, as an example, like Nick Bowles is like better than Nick Coles, and then that means that Nick Lowles is outranked by Nick Knowles, right? So I think there's a hierarchy of Nick Oles's across the world.
That's the vodka. What are you talking about?
but look, you're not going to be happy, Lois, because you know your man Nigel. Look, he's in the report.
Hang on a minute. What do you mean, my man?
You know, your friend Nigel. He's in it a lot. And look, they say Reform is a far right party.
Well, according to this lot of wokes, it's far right to not want to have children have their breasts removed at 14 years old and little girls be given hysterectomy and told they're boys. It's far right to believe in the family. It's far right to believe in freedom of speech and being able to jump in your car and drive without, you know, it's far right to be anti-lockdown. So, you know,
yeah,
good.
Exactly. Embrace it. Okay.
But also, can I just say one thing?
Yes.
Just very quickly.
Yes.
Can I just say one thing? The real villains here are not scumbags like Nick Lowles, who basically dine out on hatred and want to trouser a load of money. The real baddies are members of the House of Commons and members of the House of Lords who claim to be patriots, who claim to be conservatives, who support this organisation. Yeah. Watch out for your local member of Parliament doing that if you're a viewer.
Now, at number 7, up a whopping 21 places this year, is the failed Labour leader turned energy secretary, Ed Miliband. One of the most dangerous men in all of Britain and certainly the most ruinous to our already destroyed economy. Miliband's demented pursuit of net zero is driving us all to economic ruin. History will judge him. Lois Perry, I know how passionate you are about this one. Go.
Well, nut zero, net zero, Ed Millibrain. I mean, you could go on and on. We're not fracking. One of the main reasons that we haven't been fracking, yeah, okay, there was a Russian misinformation campaign, but it was also because of this man and the work that he did when Labour were in power the last time, and then you had Theresa May, who cemented it all in the 2050 targets and all of that stuff. So he is the reason why people can't afford to heat their homes. He is the reason why you and I right now are paying 8 times more for our electricity than Americans. He is the reason that our ability at the last factory that did British Steel is closing down. He is the reason that everything costs so much, that food costs so much, and that basically you're not going to be able to drive a normal car soon. He wants you at home in your pod on a universal basic income, cold, with a smart meter that tells you when you can have a shower and when you can't, and basically not being able to go anywhere, drive anywhere or do anything because of the whole 15-minute city thing is an Ed Miliband thing. But you know what the most brilliant thing is and the most scary thing is? This is nothing to do with saving the planet.
No.
Even if you buy into the CO2 causing climate change theory, which I don't, but the scientists have different opinions, and they do have different opinions. It's not 98%, that's rubbish. Even if you buy into that, we're just exporting our CO2 emissions anyway. So yes, he is dangerous. Very, very dangerous indeed.
I mean, see, Andre, I just can't get over. I know this is so many years on, and obviously everything Lois has said about his climate extremism, I completely agree with. But I just see him with David Miliband, and I think you're from an effed up family, given that you would run against your own brother for the Labour leadership. I can't get over it. Honestly, I will never get over that.
Well,
and they look like they're snogging in that picture.
It's weird, isn't it?
I think actually the irony is of that picture is how upset his brother was. I'll tell you one thing. I'll go even further than that, Dan. Personally, I would never publicly disagree with my brothers, but I do understand you both want to be the leader. But I will tell you what was despicable beyond all despicable things that he's ever done. And this is the measure of the man. He made Sadiq Khan his campaign manager. Now, I will tell you something. Sadiq Khan's brand of politics is nasty. Sadiq Khan's brand of politics is divisive. I've always said that most politicians I ever meet, might be wrong or deluded or whatever, but there's very few bad people in politics. Sadiq Khan is a bad person. Now, obviously, we could talk more about him later, but if I was running against my brother, if I was in that highly sensitive situation, to put in somebody like Sadiq, I think really tells you something. I want to just pay tribute, if I'm being honest, to what Lois Perry has done. First of all on Car 26,
I know.
and then on Car 24, and then also on the Heartland Institute. This man is plunging. This man is plunging real poverty. And actually, when Lois started her campaign, people were cancelled for being honest about climate change, or at least attempting to have an opinion. I think what Lois has done has been a major step forward against this man. I've always said, I believe that he is the leader of a pagan religion. Forget whether the science is true or not. This is a religion. First of all, it has its high priests. Secondly, it has its doctrine. And thirdly, of course, it has a child sent to take away the sins of the world in Greta Thunberg. We've heard all that before, haven't we? And his Spanish Inquisition. And I think that we need to fight back around. For me, if I'm being honest, I'd have made this man number one simply because of the amount of poverty he's caused for this country.
Well, and that's Lois writing, by the way, for the Heartland Institute. For those of us who have watched with growing alarm as Miliband's zealous pursuit of green fantasies has jeopardized the British economy, this may seem like a victory, but beware, it's likely a calculated deception, so you can never trust him.
Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.